I'm Victoria, the Arizona Supreme Court's AI reporter. Today, the court issued an important decision in Perez versus Circle K Convenience Stores, Inc.
That was AI reporter Victoria delivering a snappy summary of an Arizona Supreme Court ruling this past week. Victoria and colleague Daniel, also generated by artificial intelligence, are the flashiest symbols of a much broader attempt by the High Court to connect with the real people affected by its rulings. That's all of us. Chief Justice Ann Timmer, an appointee of Republican Governor Jan Brewer, is leading the way. Our interview this past week was a radical departure. Chief Justices rarely, if ever, do media interviews. Timmer made herself available with less than an hour's notice. The Chief Justice started by explaining why the court is using AI avatars. Our conversation was edited for length.
We are trying to be where the people are, and the people are on social media. The people are looking for their information very quickly, digest it, and move on with their day. So we've taken a number of steps to try to be, as Hamilton would say, not Alexander, but the Lin-Manuel Miranda version of be part of the narrative. And so with instead of simply issuing our opinions and waiting back for people to discuss and digest, we want to let people know, here's what we decided, here's the key takeaways to decisions, and sometimes here's what you can do about it, which might be go to the legislature and ask them to change the law. So with issuing opinions, out will come a news release which will give those kind of key features to explain what we've done and why.
In English.
In English, in plain English, absolutely. And then now the newest thing that we wanted to do is to have an AI reporter also tell you this is what they did today.
When you say AI reporter, makes me a little uncomfortable because Daniel and Victoria are just not reporters.
They're not reporters. They are really news readers, and they are saying exactly what we're putting into their mouth. When we initially had this thought, it was that we would have a judge or a PIO or an attorney in the system go on camera to let people know, hey, the Supreme Court issued a decision today. This is what they've said. But we decided not to have real people go on camera for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's just too difficult to get somebody together quickly to be able to, okay, we've got to film this and get this out at the same time that the opinion goes out. And we certainly don't want to hold an opinion waiting for that to be accomplished. That's first off. And second, sometimes when you choose people, maybe they're not great on camera, so there you go. Or in this day and age of having a judge do it, we're a little uncertain if it's a good idea that they can take your image, your voice, and do nefarious things with it, and we don't want that to happen. So enter AI. So we can create avatars, a couple avatars, write a script that they can simply read, and people can get their news that way.
AI is also cheaper than hiring somebody to do that job.
Well, it is. We wouldn't hire anybody anyway because we're government. We don't have that kind of money. We would use somebody that we already have, such as our, one of the two PIOs that we have would do that kind of a job.
You did correctly see my eyebrows go up when you talked about what you can do about it part. Might some of your colleagues think that's a little bit of advocacy? It sounds like advocacy, no matter which way a ruling might fall. No, it's not actually. That's more of an education about how our system works with the three branches of government. So if people are unhappy with a particular law, for example, then we don't say whether it's a good law or a bad law. That's not really our job, as you just pointed out. That's policy. But if we say in an opinion that this is the policy, we say that kind of thing all the time. This is what the legislature has passed. We're required to faithfully and impartially discharging our duties and upholding the law, we will interpret that law and apply it. But if people are unhappy with the law, that's where they go. It's the legislative prerogative. It's not a judicial function to change the law. And that's something that we hope people understand. Are all your colleagues comfortable with this?
Yes.
Did you take a vote, a head count?
Yes. Absolutely. I want anything like.
And what was the vote?
No, unanimous, unanimous. And we're all in favor of having more transparency in the court and how the court operates, and letting people know what we're doing. So everyone was happy that we issued the news releases, and now with the AI, we'll see how it's received.
Are you editing these news releases?
Yes. Are you kidding? Yes. Making sure that's something that all the justices agree on. This is an appropriate release that describes the decision, because we don't want anything to be inaccurate in there. I mean, there's a disclaimer if there's a word or two that might be off. Obviously, the official is the opinion as written, but yes, the authoring justice takes the first stab at it, and we make sure that this is what's accurate.
So let's put this in the current context. Your colleague Clint Bollock wrote an op-ed in Real Clear Politics expressing his concern about attacks on the judiciary right now. Our elections, retention elections, have become far more political. We're seeing millions of dollars spent in other Supreme Court races around the country. How does that fit into your thinking or your decision to do this?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Attacks on the state courts, yes, absolutely, that fits in. I have a big concern about people's faith in the state courts. I think we all do. I'm aware certainly of the empirical evidence over the last decade showing increasingly people are less trustful of all government institutions, and that includes courts and state courts. I suppose the good news is in all of those surveys that the state courts do the best in terms of the most faith. But great, we're at like a 60 to 65% kind of trust level with people. That's a D. That's not great. And so if that trend continues going down, then if people don't trust they're getting a fair shake in our courts, well then why would they use the courts? Why would they use the courts to resolve their disputes, or trust that the criminal justice system works, that the rule of law is something that should be abided by? It's very important that we don't take for granted that our courts, our state courts, your little local courts you go to just for all kinds of things, that you can have faith and confidence that they're not perfect because they're human beings, but they're people that are trying their best to uphold the laws and to faithfully do their jobs by interpreting them as the best they can. And so that, again, that we always did, I think, take that for granted, that's just a given in our society, in our democracy. I don't think it's a given anymore.
It doesn't seem to be a coincidence that you come from a media family and you're very concerned about how the courts are perceived by the public and using the media in different forms to get the message out. Yeah. Am I right in reading it that way?
Well, you are. I guess my background, my father was a longtime reporter and then went up the ranks of the Associated Press. My mother was actually a journalism major as well. And my sister, as you know, is always in the media. My other two brothers, just more lawyers. Can't have enough lawyers in the family. But I was raised with that thought of don't be fearful of the media. The media plays an important role in our society, and I firmly believe that. They're the people that are looking out on our own behalf about what's going on and reporting it to people so that we know what's going on in our society. And if we see issues, we can go within and solve them. But we need to know what they are in the first place. So I know that judges traditionally have been reluctant to speak to the media, very fearful about ethical guidelines and being misperceived and whatever misquoted, and sometimes that happens, and that is the part of it. But in the cost-benefit analysis, I tend to think that the benefits outweigh those kinds of costs, and we are, at the end of the day, public servants, and the public deserves to hear from us about what goes on in our branch to the extent that we can do so. So it's a little bit time to be our own media to an extent, get out of our comfort zone and serve the public.
And Chief Justice Timmer's sister, if you don't know, is Arizona Republic columnist Lori Roberts.